Brandy, you weren't with us Friday morning. Knights and Sea Eagles. Do you want to go there with a quick comment? Because the Knights contrast, first half to second half, was as pronounced as any contrast ever.
Like day and night.
Oh, day and night.
Day and night.
Yes.
And I heard you through commentary say, "Wow, this is good shape. Like
yes,
this attack
players.
is looking good. Like all of a sudden, nothing for 2 months. I think the result was overshadowed by Adam O'Brien's comments post game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But 16-0 at Manly, it was a bad loss for Manly after leading 16-0 against a side that had been struggling. They played them back into form. So Newcastle had a much-needed win up there. Storm were too good for the Cowboys. Full stop.
Yep.
I thought, Storm too good.
I thought the Cowboys might have had something the other night because Saturday night was huge. One of the biggest rugby league events I've ever been to. The Cowboys' 30-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. Knowing that was coming up, all the old boys, all the club legends there, all of them, with the exception Kyle Feldt's the only one because he's over in the Super League. Yep. But everyone's there. Everyone who's, from first blokes who played a handful of games back in
the early
1995. But it was a huge event. So they were a little down that they'd not
18-4 at half time. And it was Jerome Hughes' best game of the season. Mm. Jerome Hughes on fire. And if they, we agree. They're short price favourites to still win the comp. Mm. Well, they're under $3. I don't know if they deserve to be that after the form of the sides around them, but they showed that they, when they need to, they can score points. And Jerome Hughes I thought he was the best player on the field comfortably.
The Dolphins are now in the 8. Their points differential, I think I'm right in saying, is the third best in the competition. That's points scored, points against. They're plus 92. Are they, well, I'll use the expression, real deal Dolphins? Should they be considered seriously as finals contender?
I think they are. Yeah, I do think they are. Off the back of just Isaiah Katoa was a standout again for them, but I thought physically they took it to the Dragons early, which set up a very good first half performance. They scored 28 points in both halves. And, wow, outplayed the Dragons. They made the Dragons look second rate. Yeah. They did.
You realise we've still got a competition where third last is only 2 points out of the 8. Third last on the ladder is only 2 points out of the 8. And if you want to go further, the Eels and Titans at the bottom of the ladder are only 2 wins out of the 8. We move on to Sharks Warriors. Warriors, fantastic. Sharks now belted twice by Roosters and Warriors. Like, what on earth is happening with Cronulla?
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I thought that, and we had a conversation. I called the game with Warren Smith, and we said at half time, I think it was 12-10. I think it was close. Warriors might have been up only by 2, and I said, well, from what I saw of the first half and certainly the back end of the first half, if the Sharks get an even share of possession, I think they might be too good for the Warriors. Well, that fell in a heap. That fell in a heap, and they're players that, touch the ball the most. And I'm referring to their halves. Their halves just didn't get it done. Mm. Like, they didn't. They kicked poorly in the second half, and they didn't involve themselves, and in the end, they were pumped. The Warriors players like Halasima and Vaimaunga, they were too good for them. Young and just athletic and physical. And Luke Metcalf was very good again, along with Chanel Harris-Tavita, who played well. He's had a good season and probably hasn't had the chat about him because Luke Metcalf has dominated that. But Harris-Tavita's been sneaky good.
By the way, 3 of the top 4 have buys next week, so it's going to stay as it is. Raiders, Storm and Warriors, and Bulldogs have that match against Rabbitohs on Sunday. We move on to Broncos and Titans. Now, we have a little bit of Des Hasler. The Titans are rock bottom right now. No team has won less games than the Titans this year. No team has lost more games. They are 3-9. This is Des on where to now for the Titans after that heavy defeat.
There's a thing in rugby league where if you look gassed, if you don't front load, if you don't turn up with good energy, we missed the start. We missed the start and we just chased and chased again.
you the coach to turn his club around?
The players turn the club around. So it's not a question like that. It's not about that. It's not about turning anything around. It's about turning up and playing well. And we didn't do that. We missed that opportunity tonight. We missed that opportunity.
What can you
And that's not good enough. And they know that.
Wow, that's
that's
spot
as
on.
raw
That's
as
as
it gets.
direct.
Of course it is.
It's about turning up, not turning it around. Turning up.
Yeah,
is where you start.
It's like sometimes, and Des is right. Like it's not about. He didn't say it's not about me turning it around. It's about but he was inferring that. Like that was what he meant, and it is about the players. They need to be accountable. Like they were as bad as they could be. Are you? And did you put the Broncos in your gun? Were the Broncos in the gun?
No, they weren't.
But they had to win.
They weren't. No, they had
to win.
Oh, yeah.
They were 1 from 7.
26-28 half time.
Yeah. So it was over. Are you convinced that the Broncos are back?
No, you're not using Titans as benchmark for
you can't, can you?
Return to form.
No.
But see, that's where Broncos are at, and that's what this crazy table is. The Broncos, for all their woes this year, and we've criticised them and all the rest,
they're
in the 8 now.
Yeah.
6 and 7 has you in the 8.
Mm-hmm.
But it is so tight. It is so tight.
Yeah, they get their second bye this week.
Yeah.
Raiders South.
Well,
South started well. 15 minutes into the game, they led 10-0, 12-0.
12-0.
12-0. And then we're just outplayed. Just outplayed. Cody Walker, another injury. Is it a groin? But he walked off straight up the tunnel. That was his return game. So they've got some issues. They've been battling away South Sydney.
30-0 second half.
Yeah, I know.
30-0 second half.
Yep.
Canberra, you've read out their draw for the rest of the season. You've got them now locked in as minor premier. The Papalii thing aside, just some other players first of all. Ethan Strange, I could pick Ethan Strange in a heartbeat in an Origin jersey. Bloody hell, he's a tough player.
Yep.
He's got confidence. He's getting better by the week.
He's had a couple of really good games, hasn't he? He played well against the Roosters last Sunday night. He was very good again. Scoring, kicking goals too.
But I'll throw a couple of others at you.
Yeah, all of them.
Like Simi Sasangi. He suddenly come out of the ground like just a...
Well, they lost to Marley, which sometimes can throw things a little pear-shaped when you lose a winger. Seb Chris moved to the wing.
Yep.
Sasangi came on and played centre, which he has done. He started as centre with the Knights.
But you've thought he's a bit part player previously.
Well, he's another player that had it. He was outstanding against the Roosters the week before.
Yes. Owen Putty coming off the bench, then we get the Papa. Could you believe it? Like, not 1 try, 2 tries.
Yeah.
And then the goal.
Yep.
The goal, the technique of a craftsman.
Yeah.
He might be one of the best kickers the game's never seen.
Yeah.
Not ever seen, never seen.
Front rowing, goal kicking front rower.
Yeah.
They're rare. It's a rare commodity.
Yeah.
Look, he will go down as one of the best front rowers to play the game, without a doubt. He was the number 1 front rower for a period, 4 or 5 year period there. Might have been a little bit longer. He's Ricky Stewart, we spoke to Ricky, we interviewed him on Fox League, and I said, well, he's everything, but he's also a try scorer, Rick. Like, he scored 65 tries. The next on the list in the NRL era as a front rower. And I know Papa started his career in the back row, played on an edge, but 65 tries, now 67 after he scored those 2 tries. That's pretty good, isn't it, for a front rower to score that many tries? And clearly the best in the NRL.
I can remember tries he scored against Melbourne, like the best of the best.
Just
comes
so
up with inspirational try.
From 10 metres out.
Great moment. Great moment in the season.
Remember Papa chasing down Jamal Fogarty?
I do.
Getting
the ankle tap from God.
Yeah. Can do anything.
Tigers, Panthers on Sunday. Look, it ended up 3 tries all.
It's a great game.
And it was a terrific game. A lot of drama and all the rest. Benji Marshall was salty Benji after the game. Folks, you have a listen to what he said. Does he have a case? Because he pinpointed a couple of penalties against the Tigers as being pretty much the reason they didn't come away with the points. Here we go.
We went toe-to-toe with them, and I honestly thought we were the better side tonight. The game's, it's so hard and demanding, and I actually feel sorry for our players because they didn't actually get to decide tonight. I thought 2 calls, the first one on Jerome on last, making a tackle, I thought it was outrageous. That decision took him to 12-10. And the second one, he got done for an escort. which I thought was bad too. And then they scored off the back of that set. Like, just let them decide, let them play it. You know, the game's actually hard enough. So I'm proud of our boys and proud of the effort, and we'll keep fighting and turning up like that the way we did tonight, and keep improving.
Will you raise those issues?
Absolutely.
With
Yep.
yeah.
That's borderline on the fine. Oh, hang on a second, Charlie. There, pull that away.
Charlie.
That's not right, Charlie. Let them decide. Like, that's like saying, now,
Yeah,
I think it runs
you
him in trouble.
You intervened for,
They're in a warning.
Graham Annesley did speak on both of those incidents.
Yes.
Do you want me to read what Graham
Yes,
said?
love
Because
to.
he won't pop
You're
his
his
head
wingman.
up.
You're Graham's wingman.
Still in the cupboard
Yeah.
somewhere. But out of that cupboard, he did.
Morse
he
code
recorded
you.
this.
Yes.
Having reviewed the vision of both incidents from multiple angles, the NRL is of the view that both decisions are correct, says head of football Graham Annesley. It's clear from the vision that Jerome Luai props on his left foot and turns his back to initiate contact with Liam Martin. So that was the escorting of Liam Martin. Regarding the contact on kicker Blaze Talangi, the rules have been reinforced with clubs on multiple occasions over recent seasons. Players have a duty of care to avoid dangerous contact with kickers who are in the process of kicking and in a vulnerable position.
I disagree with that
Can,
one.
Case
can we
closed.
can we just clear that up? And so on that incident, the tackle wasn't late.
No.
It wasn't high. He was within his rights to make that tackle. Now, did he get penalised for not wrapping his arms? It was a front on proper tackle. He just didn't wrap his arms around him. Is that what he was penalised for? Because please tell me that we haven't ruled that out of the game where you can't make. Do we allow a kicker to just take all the time in the world to kick the ball?
Well, my argument there, Brandy, would be if he was passing the ball, then it's no dramas.
No.
You know, that's a tackle. He's got there in time to tackle him. You know,
So
as
long as he hasn't made contact with the legs of the kicker, which he didn't, well, I think it's got to be all right. Like, we can't just say, carte blanche, you take as much time as you want to kick the ball.
Yep.
If you are in the motion of kicking and can't be tackled or can't have any contact on you,
they always look spectacular,
loss.
and that's the part. And I assume challenges on kickers is the job of the touch judge because their eyes are on that, and the referee's got to be elsewhere. The referee can't be looking back. It would have to be the touch judge's call. And the more spectacular from a distance, I don't know how they do their job, to be honest. But it almost, and I don't want bunker intervention, but sometimes I sometimes think, well, the bunker needs to step in and say, no, that's not right. You know, like just a sneaky little, that's not right.
Yeah.
No,
Anyway,
mutual infringement. Let's just pick it up and go again.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying, is if he wrapped his arms around him, even though it wasn't a shoulder charge, it was front on, shoulder into the body of the player.
Yep.
I don't know. Yeah.
Penrith back-to-back wins. I'm going to go early Crow here.
I thought
early
that.
Crow.
Yep.
If Penrith make 8th position for the finals, they're the favourites for the comp. If I was framing a betting market and Penrith limp into 8th, and they're all healthy,
well, they won't be able to
they're all
limp.
healthy.
They won't be able to limp into anything. Pressure's on to continue winning.
Well, they're 1 point out of the 8 now.
Yeah.
And they got the bye. And then yesterday's game, Bulldogs Eels, just a summary of that. 60,000 fans there in the house, and the Bulldogs dominated possession, dominated field position. I still see really good signs with Parramatta. I enjoyed the occasion. It just was good.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Tight. 12-all at halftime, Andrew, and I thought, the Eels going on the numbers and how the Dogs dominated territory and possession in that first half. I thought the Eels walked off heads up after going to the break all square, but just it took its toll in the second half, and the continual pressure that the Dogs applied just meant that the Eels' defence was going to break at some stage, and it did a couple of times.